Brilliant. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for registering and joining for this actually first Let's Go Zero webinar of 2025. It's really great to have you all here, and I hope you um, come to get a bunch of knowledge that will hopefully support you and your schools that you're working with on your climate action journey this year. And please do feel free to ask questions using the Q&A box or even the chat box. If so we'll have a bit of time for questions at the end. If for any reason we can't ask questions, we will send follow-up emails with the answers in them. But I really, really do hope that you find this an interesting and engaging webinar. So we're focusing on getting support to create your school's climate action plan. And we've got some brilliant speakers for you today. So I'm Suzanne Gibbon. I will be chairing this webinar and looking at the Q&A and making sure everybody's happy. But I'm also joined by Oki Scott, who's our climate action advisor at Let's Go Zero. She is going to be talking about our program and how we support schools. We've got Gordon Tillman, the Chief Executive Officer at the Oaks Specialist College, who is coming. He's going to make a brief entrance and quick exit. He's just in a very busy day today. He's going to come and talk about how Oki and him are working together to help his school's journey on their climate action plan. And then we're joined by Robbie Brady, who's a sustainability consultant at Blue Marble, who will give us a really brilliant rundown of the Sustainability Support for Education Hub, funded by the Department for Education, and then also an online schools climate action planning tool, which we hope you'll all use and you can play around with once it's launched and available for everyone to use. So without further ado, I'd like to hand over to Oki, who is going to introduce Let's Go Zero and our offering to you all.
Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us. Suzanne said it's great that you're all here. I'll get cracking straight away in terms of what Let's Go Zero does and how we can support you with your climate action and specifically climate action plans. Just wanted to start by talking a little bit about the Let's Go Zero campaign. So we started as a campaign, and this is a national campaign for all schools, colleges and nurseries to be zero carbon by 2030, a massive ambition, but we wanted to join schools and students and teachers together to bring a voice together to the government to say that there was a real commitment for climate action and to ask the government for to support schools in taking that climate action. And we've seen a massive uptake to the campaign. We've got over 5,000 educational settings now joined up. And just a little sort of plug, I guess, if you feel like you would like to join your school to the campaign, the QR code on the slide will allow you to do that. You have to be a senior leader to join your school up, but if you're not, please do ask your leadership team if they would be interested, because it's really great to get lots of schools together to show the government what enthusiasm there is for taking action. So linked obviously closely to that, I just wanted to talk very briefly about the DFE Sustainability and Climate Change Strategy, which was produced in 2022, and the kind of key elements of this strategy for schools, I guess, are that education settings and schools and will have nominated a sustainability lead and put in place a climate action plan by 2025. So that's the kind of expectation that is set out in that strategy, and that is it's a big ask for schools, and we're really aware of that. And I have kind of a personal experience of that. I was a teacher for a long time in a secondary school, and I was also a sustainability lead. I know the pressures that schools are under, and so and how much they have to do. And so really that's where Let's Go Zero climate action advisors can come in and really support, to try and take some of that pressure, to try and give some extra capacity to schools and education settings to help them achieve this DFE expectation. And I'll say a little bit more about that now. So we are climate action advisors. The picture on the board is just a few of us. It's a bit of a cheesy picture, but it's the London and East of England team of climate action advisors. But there are actually 32 of us altogether, and we work across England in kind of regional hubs. And I work in the London team. And we work across England supporting schools with their climate action. So I'll just say a little bit more, give you a little bit more detail about what we actually do with schools. And just to say from the outset that all that we do is free. And our aim is that we are going to help schools accelerate their journey to become zero carbon. But more broadly than that, we're going to work with schools to take action on climate change in whatever the way they want to, or you want to, and whatever way is most kind of appropriate and useful for your settings. So there are lots and lots of things that we do with schools and trusts. And you can see some of them on the slide there, but just to kind of give a little bit more detail. So one of the things we do is advice. So we might be able to advise, for example, on where you might start if you wanted to get some solar panels, or we might be able to signpost you to a particular set of resources on green careers or things like that. So we can give that advice and that signposting. We can also do audits of your schools. So we can do that remotely online, or we can come to your school in person and do an audit, which might help you sort of identify where you could save energy, or it might help you bring together key stakeholders in your setting in order to kind of drive forward a climate action plan. And then also, having done an audit or having had conversations with you, we might put together a sustainability report, which would lead then to a climate action plan, which would align with the DFE expectation. And I'm going to go into a little bit more detail about the climate action plan in a minute. But some of the other things that we can do and we can help schools with is we can help them do a carbon footprint. So we use the Eco Schools tool, and we help them get a baseline of where the carbon emissions in their schools come from. We can support you to find funding where it's available, and highlight where grants are happening and competitions. And as I've mentioned before, we can sort of help you find the most appropriate curriculum resources for your settings, and point you towards local and national initiatives and other schools. So networking where other schools are doing interesting things in terms of climate action. So there's a whole range of ways we can support schools, and we usually draw that together into a climate action plan to help schools kind of prioritise and drive that action forward. So just very briefly to run through how the process works. I won't go through everything on this slide, but just wanted to say really that if you are interested in getting support, all you need to do is request support. I'll put the QR code on a slide a little later down. You request your support, and then a climate action advisor from your region will get in touch with you, and you just have a brief online meeting to discuss the kind of support that you are after, where your school is at, your priorities and those kind of things. And then we work through those next stages of helping you to put together a climate action plan or take forward certain projects that you are interested in taking forward. And we then touch base kind of on a termly basis to help support actually delivering those things that you want to do. And ideally as well, we would do a carbon baseline at the beginning of that process and then measure it a year later so that we could measure impact. And I'll say a little bit more about that a bit later. So just to kind of focus in on the climate action plan, because I know that is the focus of this this webinar, and also we're talking about that DFE expectation. So how we see the climate action plan is a way, hopefully, to help you identify your priorities for climate action. So no two settings are going to be the same, and we're really aware of that. And what we want to do is try and work with you to try and find what kind of things would be best for you to do in terms of your settings. Once we've kind of identified some priorities, we'd put that into a plan, and then we would give further support as you put those plans into action. And the other thing we can do is we can help you link your plan with other of your key strategies or inspection criteria to make sure that it's kind of embedded in the governance of your school. And as I've mentioned before, we can help you understand and monitor your carbon footprint. And that's a really important part of the process. So just to say a little bit more about that carbon footprinting, when we're doing a climate action plan with the school, we really like to do a carbon baseline at the beginning of that process, so that for two main reasons, really. It's so that we can understand what emissions your schools are creating, and what are the areas of those emissions that are the areas are creating the highest emissions. And why that's important is because then it can help us do that thing that I was talking about earlier of prioritizing what action we might want to take. So, for example, if you did a baseline and you noticed that most of the school's emissions were being created by your energy use, your gas and electricity use, that might be your area of focus for your plan, for example. So that's really nice. And the second reason is that it's really, really useful to measure impact. So we would do a carbon baseline at the beginning of your climate action plan, and then a year later we'd come back together, we'd do it again, and hopefully all the amazing actions that you have done over the year of the climate action plan would generate a different carbon output, and hopefully those emissions would have gone down, and we could track that. And that's really motivating for students, for people who've been involved in putting the action plan into place, because you can see real change taking place. So just a little bit more detail then on the DFE's expectations about what a climate action plan should look like and should cover. So the DFE has asked that climate action plans look at 4 different areas, and they're up on the slide there. The first one is decarbonisation and energy efficiency. So that's where schools are working towards reducing their carbon emissions, essentially. And that might be, for example, by looking at how the energy is used within a school. It might be taking action to improve energy efficiency by changing the times that you have your heating on, or it might be taking kind of action on infrastructure. So it might be putting solar panels in place, or it also might be around things like transport, encouraging more sustainable transport, or food, kind of supporting students to make different choices in terms of the food they eat. All of those kind of things might support a school to cut down carbon emissions. The next area that the DFE is asking schools to have a look at is climate education, green skills and careers. So that's really about thinking how sustainability can be embedded into your curriculums, your any careers offering that you have in your school, and trying to make sure that kind of runs throughout the teaching that you do. And we can certainly support you think of ways to do that. The third area is biodiversity and green infrastructure. So that is all about, well, it's partly about the school site, so making the school site more biodiverse, improving kind of the habitats and on the school site, but also thinking about how students can engage more with the nature that does exist on the school site. So it's kind of a twofold area there. And finally, the last area is adaptation and resilience, and that is all about schools thinking about how you can respond to the changes that will happen because of climate change or are already happening. So increase of rainfall and a further risk, a higher risk of flooding and higher risk of overheating, and thinking about ways that we can respond to that. So for example, it might be about putting shading on classroom windows, or it might be thinking about the site to make it less prone to flooding, those kind of things. And all of those areas, we as climate action advisors can support you on and support finding the right actions for you under each of those areas. The next slide is far too small, actually, I realise as I put it up, but hopefully it will just give an indication. The idea is to show that we have lots and lots of ideas for actions in each of those boxes. Even if you can't read them, there's lots of actions, and each action and we can kind of work with you to choose the most appropriate actions for your school under each of the areas that I've just talked about, the DFE areas. So that's kind of how the climate action plan process works. Alongside the helping you produce the climate action plan, as I said, we can support you with resources, and we have our own set of resources that we can also share with you to help you get started on the actions that you have chosen to put in your plan. It's really important to note that we work collaboratively, and we're really aware that there is a lot of information and a lot of amazing projects out there, but that can sometimes feel very overwhelming for schools. I certainly had that experience as a sustainability lead myself. And so we work together with all of the organisations you can see there to make sure that we are directing schools to the projects, the resources that are most relevant to them, and that we're all working together in order to sort of help schools take the action that they want to take, that you want to take, and rather than overwhelming with all the different projects that are out there. And as well as our coalition, we've also got some key partners, and we've got what we call the sister projects, the sisterhood, which is 4 kind of key partners. Let's Go Zero works with the 3 you can see there on the slide, and all of those ones are funded by the DFE, and we all work very closely together to kind of make sure that we're all going in the same direction and offering a really wide range of support to schools. So the first one there, the sustainability support for education, you're going to hear a lot more about from Bobby, who's going to be talking later in this webinar. So I won't talk about that too much. And then the climate ambassadors, who are also a DFE funded project and are there to also help with climate action plans like I've been talking about, but also to give schools access to people, to volunteers who can come in and support with particular areas that the school wants to focus on, or you might be able to get a particular expert to come and talk at your school or work with your school on a project that you wanted to work on. And then we also work with the National Education Nature Park, whose real focus is to promote that connection to nature, and to make settings more biodiverse. So I say all of that for kind of 2 reasons: to emphasize that there is a lot of support available to you as schools, and also to emphasize the fact that we are working together, and so rather than to overwhelm, we are kind of hoping that we can support in a really coherent way. So I'm going to just put that slide up in case anyone is feeling inspired and motivated already to get in touch with us. That QR code takes you to just filling in a very 30-second form to express your interest in getting support from a climate action advisor. And anyone in the school can do that. So please feel free to do that now. And I think Suzanne's already also put a link in the chat if you want to have a think and get in touch later. But we really hope that you will work with us, because we can really offer lots of support to you as schools. And I'm just going to finish off then by mentioning a particular school that actually not a school, an educational institution, a specialist college that I've been working with. And it's been really brilliant. We the Oaks Specialist College, as I've talked about in this webinar, Gordon, back in summer 2024, who is the CEO of the Oaks Specialist College, got in touch via in the same way that I've just mentioned. And so then I got back in touch with him, and we had an initial conversation, and then I went and did a site audit in the summer of 2024, which was really great. I went round and met all his colleagues, saw the Oaks, met some learners, and then from there put together a sustainability report and climate action plan, where together we identified some key areas for action. And hopefully he'll back me up on this, but that it was tailored and specific to the context of the Oaks. And this now then is all credit to Gordon and his team, that there's already been some amazing outcomes from that climate action plan, a real uptake in vegetarian meals, and uptake in public transport by the learners, and lots of other things going on. So we thought it would be really useful, not just to have me talking away, but also to hear from one of the organisations that we've worked with, and how that kind of process works. So I think that Gordon is here, and so I'm going to hand over to him, and I'm going to stop sharing. Is that okay, Suzanne?
Yeah, brilliant. Gordon, are you there?
I am. The question is, can you hear me?
Yes, we can, loud and clear.
Good, because I've had to join you on my phone, and I've parked up in a service station on the M40 for reasons that life occasionally throws you curved balls. So I've had to change my plans, but I'm very pleased to be here today. And just to say, say a few things. The first thing you might need to know about me is I am a complete eco warrior. I eat, sleep, repeat everything to do with eco and sustainability, and that's in my entire life. Actually, that's not the case whatsoever. And the point is, because I'm not that, the climate action plan has really helped us. It's helped me, and because it's helped me, I've then helped my colleagues in the college and our learners. It's a college for 19 to 25-year-olds with learning difficulties. So we're not a school. We're not even obliged to do this by the DFE. So take it from me, it must be good if we've done it voluntarily. And I'm really glad we have. And I haven't got any pearls of wisdom particularly to share with you. And we've done some stuff which is fairly normal. None of it is hugely amazing. But the thing is, the conversation with Oki, and then the plan that subsequently was developed, it's the age-old thing. Once I'd shared the plan with the senior leadership team, and then we got a trustee involved, things had to happen, because otherwise I would have had an awful lot of egg on my face. And that's the thing. We were already thinking about being more sustainable. We were already thinking about solar panels on the whole roof. We were already thinking we need to have far more vegetarian meals and stuff like that. But the conversations with Oki really helped just focus us and then get us to do stuff. And some of the stuff we have now got 80% vegetarian meals in the college 5 days a week, which is fantastic for our learners. Are really good. We haven't got the solar panels yet, but we've got a quote for that. We've started a salary sacrifice scheme for all our staff for electric vehicles, which has attracted a lot of interest as an extra employee benefit. We haven't got the EV charger in college yet. I've got one at home, but the bonus, there was a bonus, unintended bonus of Oki's work with us, was that Oki and her colleagues got a whole heap of contacts. So Oki gave us a contact for electric charger supplier. And we're now going with them, and we've saved ourselves as a college £5,000 because that was the best quote, but we wouldn't have come across it otherwise. Oki's also put us in touch with other people, and that's how, Rolling Stone, the whole thing has gathered a lot of moss, and we're now going to be working with some of the partners to make our site more biodiverse. As a college, we've always wanted to have a business that we could get our learners into, and we've considered a print shop, we've considered a trainee hotel, but partly as a result of our focus on climate action, we've now decided that we're going to grow an awful lot of flowers and sell them as an enterprise activity for our students. So I can only but say everything that Oki's just told you on those slides and what she said to you is absolutely true. And just do it, please, because it's better for you, it's better for... And the other thing we've done is to up the amount of content we've got in our curriculum about sustainability and climate change, because even if we've done nothing else, I think at the end of the day that is probably the most important thing, because if we don't educate young people about the challenges ahead, then who is going to? So all round it's been win 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 win, and I'm delighted. So thank you, Oki, and thank you everybody. Does that help?
Gordon, thank you so much. That's an absolutely glowing review of Oki. I promise we didn't tell him to say all of that. Just one quick question, really, is how have your learners and overall staff sort of, how have you brought them along the journey? I mean, it sounds like you're doing amazing things, but have you had any pushback at all, or have they been quite keen and eager to get involved?
The honest answer is we've had zero pushback. Some people are more keen to get involved than others, which is standard. And I wasn't super keen to get involved. When I saw the climate action plan, I thought, oh God, another 7-page document that we need to fill in and do this and do that. But actually, it wasn't like that. It evolved, it emerged. Oki nudges us along the way, and as soon as I put it out there, we had some very enthusiastic staff, and that enthusiasm is catching, and it's so relevant and so in the news, and so much to do with young people, whatever their age. Nobody can say this is a waste of time, can they?
Yeah, no, definitely. Gordon, thank you so much. And thank you for joining us in your car en route home. Really, really appreciate the time you've given up to just come and have a chat with us.
Not at all. You're very welcome. And I haven't got enough fingers and thumbs or technological ability to put anything in the chat at the moment on my phone. But if anybody wants to contact us, just drop me an email, and you're welcome to visit the Oaks Specialist College at any time, or to have a chat on Teams or whatever. We're happy if anybody wants to get in touch to do. No problem at all.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Gordon. That's really great. Thank you.
You're most welcome. Take care, everybody.
Take care.
Bye now.
Brilliant. Brilliant. That was absolutely amazing. Thank you so much, Oki and Gordon, who's had to drop off to get home. We next have Bobby, who is from Blue Marble, our sustainability consultant, who's been working on the Sustainability Support for Education Hub and an online climate action planning tool, to tell you a bit more about another way of figuring out how on earth to create a climate action plan. So Bobby, over to you.
Hi everyone, thanks for joining. Yes, so as Suzanne said, I've been working for the last year on the DfE Commission Sustainability Support for Education Hub, and I'm going to take you through how the hub works today and how you can use it in your schools or with any schools you're working with to help them kind of identify actions that they might want to take to kind of improve on their sustainability progress and their journey. And then second to that, I'm also part of something called the Net Zero Accelerator Pathfinder program. Bit of a mouthful, but essentially it's a cohort of 25 schools commissioned by Located, where we work as part of a consortium. So it's myself from an organisation called Blue Marble, Suzanne as part of the Let's Go Zero Climate Action Advisors team, and a number of other organisations. And we help those schools to deliver decarbonisation interventions and behaviour change programmes and set them up on with their climate action plans and so on and so forth. So I'm going to show you the climate action plan tool that we've created as part of that programme today. So first things first, I'm going to share my screen and we're going to take a little look at the Sustainability Support Hub. So for those that may or may not be familiar, this has been live now for probably since May, June last year. It has evolved over time. There have been kind of several iterations and it has improved based on user feedback. So we're at a really kind of good point in time now where we've used all that feedback to kind of curate the service. And so if you were to come to the site today, this is one of the ways that you can kind of start to identify actions that you'd want to potentially include in a climate action plan, whether you speak to the advisors or whether you wanted to do it by yourself. So there's two routes through the hub. One is by kind of taking a very structured approach through a sustainability journey, and there's essentially 4 or 5 levels that you can kind of work through. Again, highly structured, and you can kind of plot yourself on this journey as well. So you can kind of read the descriptions and decide whether maybe you need to start at the beginning, or maybe actually you've already done a bit and you can start at the next step, and so on and so forth. So that's kind of one route through the service. And then the second route through is just by topic. So if you're particularly interested as a school in the topic of biodiversity, or perhaps energy, or estates and buildings, anything like that, you can have a little route through and identify some actions that way as well. So I'm just going to take a look at the sustainability journey. Let's assume that I'm from a school and I don't think we've really done that much currently. I don't know whether we've got any kind of eco team, or how much kind of work we've done in the sustainability space in our setting. So maybe I want to start out at the beginning of the sustainability journey. And what it's going to show me is it's going to show me groups of actions that I can take and what order I should be taking them in. So here's some different aims, and they're just groups of actions. And I can start at the beginning, so I can click on get ready to start my sustainability journey. It's going to explain what this aim is and what the group of actions are. And it sets out each of these actions in an order that is recommended by sustainability experts in conjunction with one of the largest trusts in the UK, the United Learning Trust. So they've kind of curated these actions. And as part of that, they've also done lots and lots of research to identify the resources that will help you take that action. So if you click on any of the actions, you'll see a description of what that action means and the benefits of taking it, and then also any resources that will help you take that action. So for example, how to start a school green team, or the 7 steps towards eco schools, one of which is creating your kind of sustainability group, your eco team, your green team. So that's one route through the service. You can do it that way. And then just to go backwards and take a look at the topics as well. Let's imagine that in another school, we're really interested in the topic of energy. I could just come onto the site and go and take a little look around and see what type of actions are being recommended, and maybe decide which ones are of interest to me and which ones are appropriate to my setting. And in order to kind of make that more relevant to me, I can filter by my role. So I might be in business operations, I might be a sustainability lead, I might be in estates and site, and so on and so forth. And you can filter by things like cost and time. So you've got little indicators on each of the actions, whether it's low cost or not, whether it's something that you might need to repeat or it's kind of like a one-off action. And then also things like your setting type. So if you were kind of in an early years or primary or secondary school, you could filter by that as well. So that's kind of like a little just view of the site in a nutshell. What's really useful is once you log in, once you've signed up, which is completely free, you're then able to go in and you're able to start saving actions to a list. So let's pretend we are going to try and do that now. I'm in a school, come to the site, I've signed up, and I need to find some actions that I want to talk to my school about and maybe start to put them into an action plan. I'll click on one of the aims that's in front of me to get started on my journey, and I can go to the star on each of the actions, and I can start to click on that and it will allow me to add it to a list. So for the purposes of the tool, you can see lots of different lists I've created before, but for now, for the demo, let's call this, I don't know, today's list. And I can go in and I can create that. And you'll see if I scroll down somewhere, this, where is it? There we go, today's list, and I can click done, and that has added that action to my new list. And then I can go through and I can add all of these actions as part of this group to my new list that I've just created, like so. So if I go through and add these, like that. And then once I've added any actions that I want, I can then view my list. I can either click on view list or I can click saved at the top, and that's going to show me any list I've created. So for instance, I might do it by topic. I might have one for biodiversity, one for climate adaptation, one for decarbonisation, or I might have just done it the way I've done it today, which is I've identified some that I like the look of and popped it in the same list. So I can see my list, and then the crucial thing is I can then download that list. So once I click download, that's going to save it to my downloads folder on my computer or my laptop, and then I can go and use the climate action plan tool that has been created as part of the NZAP program. So I'm going to switch now to the next tool, which is climateactionplan.org.uk, and like I said, this has been developed and is already being used by 25 schools as part of the Pathfinder program, but it is free and accessible to all, so if you wanted to go on and play around with it and use it today, you can do that. So when you go to the home screen, you'll have kind of a logged out view, and this is what it looks like. There's a little bit of information on, the importance of creating your climate action plan, some links through to Let's Go Zero as well, and sustainability support for education, and then very simply just click to get started. So once you click that button there, it's going to take you through to a view. You'll have a blank screen because you won't have all of these plans, but you'll see here, these are all the plans we've created with the advisors from Let's Go Zero as part of the NZAP project that we're working on. But from your perspective, you'll go onto here and you'll start to create your own setting. So your setting, let's pretend you're from a standalone setting, your school name, so that could be ABC School, and then also your setting postcode. We don't ask for any more information as a mandatory data point at this point. Everything else is optional. It's all aligned with the Let's Go Zero process as well. So if you wanted to just add your name and your postcode and come back and fill that in later, the other bits in later, you can, and your advisor can do that for you on your behalf as well. So there's no need to kind of add that to get started on your climate action plan build. Once you've created your plan, you can then use the list that you've created in the Sustainability Support Hub, and you can import it and it's going to automatically create your plan for you. So if I click that and then add a list that I created earlier today, I've chosen my file and I just click upload, and it's as easy as that. It's going to tell me that it's done. It's added 11 actions that were in my list, and then all I need to do is view action points, and this is my plan. So at this point, hopefully it will a little bit familiar because it's set out in the structure of the DfE's 4 pillars of climate change and sustainability, as well as a nice 5th capsule, which is for anything around sustainability and culture, that kind of whole ethos kind of component, and anything that doesn't sit neatly in the other pillars. So that's my list of actions that I've created. What you can then do is you can then start to add key information. So I'm going to show you a plan I prepared earlier in the interests of time. So if I click on this plan here, you will see that this is a plan that someone has created, and they've started to add some little bits of key information. It's not fully complete yet, but it gives you a sense of what it might look like once you've started to add important kind of information to it. So if I click on any one of these actions, you'll see that here I can update the progress status. I can add any key stakeholder names. So let's pretend that Suzanne and I are working on this together. I could put my initials and Suzanne's initials, for example. I can add and change the time frame, the start date and end date where it's relevant. And then there's some other bits of information that's quite nice to capture as well. Again, completely optional. Things like how much effort it might require, things like how many resources or what types of resources you need, whether that's access to training or tools or systems or just knowledge, things like that. That's really helpful. And then there's also a bit of a cost indicator to help with prioritizing different actions, and then potential carbon savings. And this is where, if you're working with an advisor, they might be able to help you kind of identify a percentage potential carbon saving, whether that's in a range or even a specific value that can kind of come over time as well. And then finally, other bits and pieces, you can break down your plan into subtopics. So for example, decarbonisation, that's a huge topic. You could break that down into things like procurement and waste and water and so on, all that good stuff. And then finally, last two bits are things on KPIs and targets and measures, where you identify them, and then also a link to your school development plan. So that's all of the information that you can collect as part of kind of updating and then starting to manage and track in your plan. I'm going to show you now what a full plan looks like as part of the NZAP programme that we've been working on. So if I scroll down here, this is a plan from Plymouth Cast for St Mary's Catholic Primary School. So this is one we actually, the Let's Go Zero advisors have created with the school, and we've just imported it into the tool, much like I've just shown you, as a file, and it automatically populates like so. So this is their full plan, and these are all the data points that they've added against it. So you'll see there's lots of great actions in here, and it's all been kind of added to kind of start and end date. And what that means is once you've added those start and end dates, you get a really nice visual, a nice snapshot of where you are on your sustainability journey. So you don't have to kind of read through anything. You've got a nice visual and you can quickly and easily see what you need to focus on for the kind of the time being. So hopefully that's quite a nice kind of extra bit to have as well. Other things you can do, you can actually download the plan as a PDF. So what you see here, you can download it. If you click download, it's automatically going to go into your downloads folder, and you're going to get something that you can print off, and you can have that physical artifact. You can share it on notice boards or in meetings, you know, so on and so forth. And you're always going to have, you know, version control around it. You're going to be able to see when you've downloaded it, when you've printed it. So the live version always exists in the tool. You need to take snapshots in time as you're progressing and discussing it. Final bits and pieces before I stop talking. You can also get some additional guidance here. We've created a little self-help guide in conjunction with the Climate Ambassadors. So that's one of the other sisterhood of projects where you can get that one-to-one support. They've produced this little bit of guidance around what a climate action plan should consider and the importance of that whole setting approach. And then also the links through to the ambassadors for that one-to-one support, and also the Let's Go Zero climate advisors as well. Final thing then is that once you've done this, let's say that you go away and do this today, and then you have also requested a visit from a Let's Go Zero advisor, you can actually invite them to your plan. So you can say, oh, hello, you know, we've tried to create our own plan. We'd love your input and guidance on how to kind of make it more robust and build it out. So you can actually, you know, put your advisor's name in there. Let's pretend it's Suzanne. I could put Suzanne's email address in there. Send her an invite. Alternatively, I could share it with anyone in my school as well. So let's pretend that I'm the sustainability lead and I've gone away and done this. And actually, I want to talk to my catering manager about some of the food actions I've identified. I can share it by using the catering manager's email, or the estate sites manager or the ops manager, whoever it is that I want to kind of collaborate in the plan with, and they will get a secure email invite to kind of sign up and view the plan. A bit of a whistle-stop tour, but I'm going to stop talking now. I'm happy to take any questions.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Bobby. That's super, super helpful. I know we've only got a couple of minutes left, but if anyone does have any questions, please do drop them in the Q&A box or the chat box. Yeah, really great. We wanted to show you a more hands-on approach where you got support from a advisor, Let's Go Zero advisor, but then also, you know, a more independent, you can go through the Sustainability Support for Education Hub, you can go through the online climate action planning tool and try and do it yourself as well. Maybe put in a request for support, and while you wait, you play around with the online tools. So they're all there to help you with this ambition of every school to have a climate action plan in place. I do have one question, and if no one else is going to put a question in, I'm going to take chair's control and ask a question. Is what is the main action that you seem to see or suggest to schools to do? That could be Oki or Bobby, either.
I'm happy to jump in if that helps. Well, I think quite often schools, there's a sort of financial imperative as well with the climate action plan. So that an action that we often advise is a kind of energy efficiency action. So it will be about monitoring your energy more carefully, and then getting site staff and students on board to perhaps change the way that you use your heating or turning off lights, or those kind of things, as a kind of key starter action, because it has the double benefit of getting people involved and thinking about climate change, but also obviously saving the school money. So there's a double whammy there.
I would agree with that, Oki. I think there's a couple, because we've got the different pillars. So for me, I would agree from an energy perspective, doing some type of energy audit or review to identify, what your consumption is and where you can kind of take those quick win actions to reduce it. And then from a biodiversity perspective, it would be to do a biodiversity assessment, and you can do that by visiting NENP, and they'll help you through that process to do that. From a climate education perspective, I'd probably survey my learners' environmental awareness. Do they know some key terms? How do they respond to kind of questions around the concept of climate education, climate change and sustainability, for example? And then for sustainability, just more generally, in that kind of whole setting ethos, probably just, have you got an eco team or a working group, or a group of people that are passionate about it in your setting?
Brilliant. Oh, thank you both. Thank you. That's really helpful. So hopefully that, I know we're 1 minute over time, but hopefully that's inspired you to go away and do an initial action and to start looking at those web pages and get in touch with Let's Go Zero and an advisor. We're here to help and support you on this journey. We do not expect you to do it all alone. There are lots of us out there to support and help. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. I will be sending around a follow-up email with all the various links that I've shared in the chat, alongside a recording of this webinar. Just a really, really big thank you to Bobby and Oki for presenting today, and really great that Gordon could join us en route to his home. But yeah, just a really, really big thank you, and thank you for everyone for joining today.
Thanks very much.
Thanks all. Thanks, Suzanne. Thanks, Oki.